Hello and welcome to episode 56 of Generation GC, Stray Dogs from Youth Authority, Good Charlotte's 6th studio album released in 2016, and my guest today is Isabella Arruda. Last week, on our last regular episode, we talked about Alive. A few days ago, we had a bonus episode on the Madden Brothers' Empty Spirits from their Greetings from California album. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Generation RX. Isabella is originally from Boston, Massachusetts, but moved to Los Angeles back in 2017, although she's now back and forth between LA and Las Vegas, where she has purchased a home. She's 26 years old and works in software development, and she also has her own business and helps her parents with theirs. She has 3 dogs and a cat and leads a pretty interesting life, and is always up to something fun. Isabella has been a Good Charlotte fan since 2002, and she can talk your ears off about them. And a fun fact is that she went on tour with Good Charlotte for a bit in 2016, and she's going to talk about that on the episode. It's a pretty cool story. If you're listening to this episode on the day that it comes out, Wednesday, March 10th, 2021, wow, oh my gosh, Benji and Joel Madden's birthday is tomorrow, March 11th. Happy early birthday to Benji and Joel. Hope it's a great day. Hope you'll have an amazing year. As a reminder, I wanted to share that I do love having guests from all over the world, as well as from all different backgrounds represented on Generation GC. If English isn't your first language, that's okay. As long as you're comfortable holding a conversation in English, you're good to go. I really want to make sure that everyone who listens to the show feels like they are represented, and I know that's something I can continue improving on. I also want to encourage everyone to visit blacklivesmatters.card.co and antisemitism.card.co to continue educating yourselves on Black Lives Matter and anti-Semitism. I also want to remind you all to please consider joining the Generation GC Fam group on Facebook. Look up Generation GC Fam. I'm always posting about it on the socials too, and it's in our link tree. Please check it out. I think it's fun to connect with everyone. I hope you will join us there. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. They're very cool. They're sparkly. I think they look awesome. If you want a sticker, there's 2 things you can do. Number 1, you can support the show on Anchor. Any money that comes into the show, whether that's from the sponsorship that you heard at the beginning of the episode or from supporters directly on Anchor, that goes right back into making the show the best that it can be. It helps me get equipment that I need. It helps me print and ship the stickers. It helps me do things like if I need to access certain reading materials or research that's behind a paywall, it helps me get all of that too. And if that's something you would like to do, just go to anchor.fm/generationgcpod and click support. Number 2, you can make a charitable donation. I've been encouraging everyone to donate to either No Kid Hungry or to their local food bank. Whether you want to donate goods or money, any donation is going to make a really big difference. Over the past year, due to the world situation, so many people are relying on food banks, and any donation that you can make makes a huge difference. So then what you're going to do is you are going to send me either a screenshot of your support of the show on Anchor, or you're going to send me proof of your donation, as well as your mailing address, and I will send you stickers. You can message at GenerationGCPod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email generationgcpod@gmail.com. And I'll get back to you. I will send your stickers right on their way. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and now on to episode 56 of Generation GC.
All right, so Stray Dogs. This one is track 7 on Youth Authority, Good Charlotte's 2016 comeback album, and their 6th overall. Track 6 was Reason to Stay. Track 8 is the Stick to Your Guns interlude. It was written by Benji and Joel Madden and John Feldman, who produced the album. And this one was not a single, and I don't believe it was ever played live. I did some searching. I didn't see any record. Do you know if it was ever played live?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so this is definitely a deep cut. And we have a lot to go into with the song by Isabella. I would love to help our guests get to know you. So the first question I like to ask everyone is, when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them?
Sure. So the first time that I heard Good Charlotte was in 2003, probably borderline 2004. And it was back when, what's it called? TRL was a thing, and music videos and VH1. And I remember being so intrigued by the look that they had at the time, you know, with all the black clothes and the eyeliner and the tattoos. It just wasn't something that like interested me, but from like first appearances, I was like, all right, these guys seem unique. And I started to listen to the songs, and I really loved how there was a mood for everything. You know, they always had a song to match your mood. And I was only 9/about 10 years old at the time. And I felt really understood when I listened to Good Charlotte. So afterwards, I went through a little bit of a, you know, let me Google the crap out of these people and know everything about them. And about a year later, I went to my first Good Charlotte concert, and I have been going to concerts ever since, and I've been following them ever since then.
Amazing. Well, you just answered my next question, which is, have you ever seen them live?
I've seen them live too many times.
Well, I was curious, since you mentioned TRL, do you remember if it was like a specific music video that was on, or was it just like they were on, you know, doing promo or something?
So I Just Want to Live was on a lot, and I actually remember I Just Want to Live too, because it made it to Kiss 108, it made it to like the radio stations.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, like they don't really have a lot of songs that have gone super popular aside from the anthem and Lifestyles. And 2005 was my 5th grade when that song was released, and it was totally I Just Want to Live or Predictable. Predictable was around a lot.
Yeah. Wow, okay, so you were pretty young when you got into them.
I was. I know. I feel like if only I were a few years earlier, maybe I could be married to one of them.
Right. Right. No, did you ever feel weird? Because like I got into Good Charlotte, it sounds like a little before you did. And I'm a little older than you. But I remember when I was starting to do all my deep dives and all my Googling on them, did you ever feel like, oh God, I missed out on like the early years? Like, God, I wish I could have been there when they were like small.
All the time. To have been 21, 22 during like their first headlining tour in 1999, that would have been a dream. Like, and it's when they were rising up too. So I think anyone who does have that opportunity to like rise up with their favorite band or celebrity, it's just really unique and it's special. Yeah. And all the time I wish that happened to me.
Yeah. It's a different experience. Like you said, rising up and like being there for those moments from the beginning versus like you really grew up with them.
Right, of course, yeah. And they're so like down to earth, they're so chill, and seeing the way that their music has also just transformed over the years as well, I think is a really cool experience.
Yeah, it's really cool seeing how it's transformed over the years. And definitely as soon as we deep dive into Stray Dogs, I think this is a perfect example of how they've evolved. So you're from Boston originally, you were living in Los Angeles, you've just bought a home in Vegas. What drew you to Vegas, and how's life in Vegas going?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised from Boston, Massachusetts, from a small town called Watertown out there. Moved to LA. Actually, we'll get into that a little later, but because of Good Charlotte, moved to LA. And spent a few years in LA. I'm 26, I'll be 27 pretty soon, but I was just getting really sick of renting an apartment and paying, close up to $2,000 for an apartment in Los Angeles.
LA is not cheap.
Oh no, it is not. And you learn that the hard way out there. So I tried so hard looking for something in my price range in the greater Los Angeles area. Unfortunately, those types of dreams just don't come true.
Sure.
So I wanted to stay out west. I was looking for something pretty like metro and kind of like a cool scene as well. I always take chances. So I've only visited Vegas once, and then I bought a house and I moved here. So I was like, hey,
Good for you.
yeah. So I just wanted the homeowner experience. I wanted, to take that next step in terms of finances. And it isn't like, I definitely miss that LA life. I think I've
Sure.
identified that more of a California girl. I might relocate back out to the East Coast later in life. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm very thankful to be able to have provided a roof over my head and to be in the situation that I'm in. But to be honest, Vegas isn't the funnest place where I am specifically. It's a very family area, and
Really?
it's just me and my dogs, and I don't think we fit in very well.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it's nice. I'm not
You
looking
tried
forward
it.
to the summer though.
Yeah, and you tried it,
Right.
which is definitely, something a lot of people probably wouldn't even say they did.
Right, and the good thing about property is you always get your return on your investment back. So
Oh yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Exactly. Well, you're a busy lady. You work in software development. You have your own business. You have a bunch of pets. What kind of business do you run?
Sure. So I am very in the early stages of entrepreneurship and working for myself.
Mhm.
It's more of a consulting service that I do at the moment, just taking on people who want to change their lives and want to follow this little program that I put together called the Bella Step, which is also my name on IG.
Mhm.
It is more of an intimate setting where I only take on about 3 to 5 people a month, and it's here and there as my full-time job allows it. So I work in voice automation as a customer success manager. So that's what I do full-time. And then, yeah, like you said, pretty busy. My parents have their own business that I help out with a lot in terms of invoicing and finding jobs for them and hiring. And the 3 dogs, those keep me very honest and very busy. My 3 babies.
Oh my God, yeah.
And a cat. I have a cat too.
Yeah.
Which is the other reason an apartment just wasn't working for us anymore.
Yeah, well, it's like I moved a couple months ago, and I had, at first I was looking at down the Jersey Shore, and nothing even allowed pets.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I chose Philly was because a lot of places allowed pets, but even so, with renting, a lot of times it's 1 pet maximum.
Right. Yep. I go under the radar by getting the ESA letter.
Oh, there you go.
Thankfully, my last apartment, they didn't have someone on site, so no one really knew, and everyone was breaking the rules. But
Sure.
Where did you move to Philly from?
I was in Sayreville, New Jersey. So actually, if you know the Starland Ballroom.
I know Hoboken.
Yeah. So I mentioned Starland because that's the one thing in Sayreville. I was probably 50 minutes from Hoboken, kind of right off, not too far off 95 or the Parkway.
Cool. And that's where you're born and raised?
No, I was born a little north of that in Jersey. Yeah, I grew up a little north of that in Jersey.
Nice. Hopefully the Philly life is keeping you busy and you're having fun and you're liking it.
I mean, it's so great so far. I honestly, a big part of my move initially was I just was doing searches online, and it seemed like I would get more for my money in Philly than I would, honestly, in most of New Jersey. I could just get a better apartment for the same price. And I found a great apartment in a great neighborhood, and I can walk to stuff, but I also have parking at my building.
Nice.
So, yeah,
nice. It's best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. Exactly. Well, before we do our deep dive, you also went on tour with Good Charlotte for a bit in 2016, and I would just love to hear what that was like.
I did. So it was literally the best experience of my life. If you've ever I can't even explain it. It was my absolute dream come true. It is all that I had ever wanted was to, be that or to have that experience with them.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely shocked afterwards, and kind of coming down from that is really hard as well.
It
after
is,
you live out
yeah.
your dream.
Mm-hmm.
And living out your dream, coming back and being a normal person afterwards, that was difficult. But essentially how it happened is I told you that I was always going to concerts when I was younger, and essentially what what really surfaced it is there was one concert that I went to where my boyfriend at the time, I was 16 years old, my boyfriend was 17. He had purchased backstage passes for us,
Mhm.
and it was at the Bamboozle Roadshow, and that was in Massachusetts, and he accidentally bought Boys Like Girls tickets instead of Good Charlotte backstage tickets.
Oh no.
So we get to the arena. It's this big arena. I'm flipping out. I'm like, I don't want to meet Boys Like Girls. At that time, I had already met Good Charlotte, I believe twice. And they had just gone on tour again after taking some time off. And what I did was I had one of the biggest temper tantrums that anyone could ever have. And it was an outdoor arena, and I was standing outside when everyone who had Good Charlotte meet and greet tickets were outside on a line, and they were going backstage to meet them. So I popped my little body there with my Good Charlotte
Just like popped in line.
Yep.
There you go.
Next to the bodyguards that were there, and I just started crying for about an hour and a half straight, just hyperventilating.
Oh my god.
And Dean and Paul were coming in and out to sign shirts. So Dino, after a few times, he's just looking at me, and he comes over. He goes, "Are you okay?" And
I mean, as someone was bound to eventually ask that, yeah.
And I told him what had happened, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fix this for you." He goes backstage. He grabs Benji and Joel. Benji and Joel give him the okay. They bring me backstage. It was amazing. And from there, he always remembered my face, because afterwards, Good Charlotte kind of dropped down in their popularity.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, they went on hiatus like the next year or something, yeah.
Right. And they were playing a lot of like smaller clubs in the Boston area. And where they're always parking their tour buses in front of the little clubs that they're playing that they're playing at. So through the next 3 shows that Good Charlotte was in Boston, I was able to talk to Dean after the show, and we just kind of created a rapport that way. And we would tweet each other every now and then. So come 2016 November, the show in Boston, I had my meet and greet tickets. And when you're meeting about 200 plus people, you're always going to remember the first person, and you're always going to remember the last person.
Yeah.
So I was the last person, and I went up to him, and I said, "Last but never least," and he remembered me by The Angels Above. And after the show, I ran into him outside the tour bus. So we had hit it off, and one thing led to another, and he had asked if I wanted to go to the next stop with him. And yeah. And yes, sign me up. So I did Boston, New York, and then I went to DC, but I didn't stay for the DC show. And I was never close to Benji and Joel. I really kept my distance from them because they were with their families as well. So Cameron was there, Nicole was there, Billy's wife was there as well. And just really stayed close to Dean, and just like being able to ask one of your favorite people ever all of the questions that you've ever wanted to ask them. Yeah. So no shade at all, but the song All Black, one of my questions to Dean is like, who let them write this and sing this song? I was like, what is All Black about? I don't get it. And he was like, yep, I had nothing to do with that. But it was a really, really fun moment. The tour bus was a lot of fun. They are such goofballs. They eat pizza, they play games, they drink a little bit here and there. And I don't even remember the other 2 bands that were on the tour bus with them, but there were some smaller bands, and Dean and Paul go on the tour bus, Billy, Joel, and Benji go on planes to get to their next destination. So it was really just intimate and quiet and the coolest thing ever. Unfortunately, Dean and I, we tried to stay in touch through messaging and whatnot afterwards. Never really.
It's hard to stay in touch with people sometimes.
Yeah, and I never wanted to be a bother. I never expected anything to go from here, or get an invite to the next tour or something. Right. They went to Europe afterwards. But one of the biggest takeaways from that was I remember talking to him, and even Benji and Joel, they encouraged me too. I was like, you know what? I'm 22 years old. I'm in this really horrible relationship. I'm not happy, and I need to change my life, and I really want to move to California, but I don't know how to do it. And they just told me, if anyone can do it, it's you.
Yeah.
Like, you're on our tour bus. Like, we see something in you. Go do it.
And you did it.
I did it, exactly. So that weekend, or actually it was in the middle of the week, I think it was a Tuesday, but changed my life forever, and so very grateful. They are the coolest people ever.
I love that. That's such a great story, and I'm so glad that you had a great experience on tour with them for a bit, and that you did get to change your life and make that move across the country.
Yeah, the coolest thing though was when I was backstage with Dean and we were walking back to the tour bus, and you know how there are the fans that are waiting near the tour bus, of course,
Sure,
because I was one of them, and they're asking for their autograph and pictures and whatnot. And Dean is like, oh yeah, I'll be right out in a minute. Just hold on. And he punches the numbers to the tour bus, to the code. He punches the numbers and the door opens. And I just walked in, and I felt so freaking cool. It was such a, it's just like, it really boosted my confidence for those few hours, but lots of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, tour buses. I'll just share my one anecdote from when I did Warped Tour in 2016. So my bus that I was on with PETA, it was in the like production kind of world.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, you've been to Warped Tour. Like, the Warped Tour is just like a massive venue, and so like your bus is probably going to be parked very far away unless you're Kevin Lyman. But we usually had a pretty good spot. I think we were bus 11, but in Maryland, we were just parked like kind of right on the side by the entrance, and we got people like taking pictures and selfies outside our bus, and I literally said to one girl, I was like, hey, like, there's no one you're interested in on this bus. Like, by the tour bus, they think it's cool. Kids think a tour bus is very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very tight. I could not sleep in one. My back would hurt.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. I found it cozy. But now that many years later, I'm like, I have a full-size bed, and I kind of wish I had like a king. So,
yeah,
I
hear you.
So let's go into Stray Dogs. So we connected on Instagram last year, and I picked this song because I remember seeing you post it to your Instagram story. So I thought, maybe she has something to say. So on first reflection, what sticks out to you about Stray Dogs?
So it's very interesting, actually. So you know how the album came out in 2016?
Yes.
I quickly listened to every song, and this was not a song that I liked in any way, shape, or form. Like, it just kind of annoyed me. Until
Really?
Yeah, there are actually a few Good Charlotte songs that I'm just like, I can't do it. Love you guys, but no. All Black being one of them. Sorry, no shade. But
I like All Black, but I get it. There's songs that I'm like,
what were you guys thinking? But I didn't like it. It seemed a little too sappy for me until that moment where I needed that sappy mood. And over the time that I had posted that, I believe it was probably like May or June, I was going through a breakup, more of an on again and off again scenario with a long-term boyfriend. But that song had played, and I had never felt like what I was going through was depicted so accurately in a song that I hadn't heard before. And it got really catchy, I'm just a straight up lost without you. And it just helped me get through a feeling that I was going through, and it was nice to know that I wasn't the only one who felt this way. It's also very convenient that I have 3 dogs, 2 of which were strays. So, and then I started to like the after I listened to the lyrics, I was like, what is this about? And I know I'll talk about that too. Yeah.
I think it's such a great feeling when it's a great feeling when you hear a song for the first time and you're like, oh, this is so great, and I relate to this. But it's almost, in a way, it's almost a little more special when it's a song that you've like kind of had maybe in the background, and then all of a sudden it's like you have that experience and you're like, I need to go listen to this song, or that song comes on and it's like, oh,
And then I didn't stop listening to it.
There you go, just stayed in rotation.
That person that I was going through this scenario with, he was with me the day that like I realized the song, and he just looked at me and he goes, "Alexa, pause," and he goes, "How many times are you going to play this song?" And I'm like, you know what? The limit does not exist.
Yeah, the limit does not exist. So my first note on this song, by the way, the very first line of the song, is he saying 3 stops is not enough or 3 stars? Because I always thought it was 3 stars, like kind of implying that like, oh, this level of like 3-star hotel, this level of like luxury or comfort isn't enough. So what will be? But then
I think it's 3 stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think stops makes a little more sense. Yeah.
I listened to a little closer. I'm like, it does sound like stops, and all the lyric sites are saying stops.
Yeah, definitely stops. 3 stops. Yeah. It was not enough. 2 hearts. They were broken up.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 star. No. Yeah.
No, it definitely. I think it does make.
That's funny
sense.
Though.
Yeah. I always like to clarify those because sometimes there's misheard lyrics.
Of course, I can't think of it right now, but there are other songs where I'm just like, "This is what you were saying? What?" Right. And then I look up the lyrics, like, "Oh, right. Okay, I get you." Do you know? Is it? I know I should know this, but is it mainly Benji or Joel doing the vocals for this song? I feel like it's a Benji song.
I feel like it's a Benji song too, especially because, well, we'll talk about the backstory. This definitely seems like a Benji song. I feel like the verses might be Joel, but I think the choruses are Benji.
And fun fact, Dino does a lot of the backup vocals for them too.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. So if the voice sounds more high pitched than Joel, it's because it's Dino.
Today I learned. I didn't even know.
Fun facts.
So I want to talk about what this song means. So I would love to hear, Isabella, like what your interpretation of this song is.
Sure. So I definitely think that it has to do with a relationship. It definitely has to do with 2 people separating or taking a break or something of that sort, indicated by the second lines, that 2 hearts that were broken up. Mm-hmm. I then think that it has to do with some type of argument or someone not seeing eye to eye in the relationship, and that break happens, and now the person who may be more invested into the relationship is like, oh crap, now you're pulling away, now you're leaving, but I can't be without you, please don't leave me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of trying to get that person to acknowledge how special they are to you. And yeah, that's kind of how I interpret it, but definitely a breakup. And unfortunately, I think it's a breakup that doesn't get back together. Like, you know how some songs have that positive like outlook at the end that, oh, maybe it all works out. For this song, I didn't get that. I didn't get like the happy ending at the end of the song or through the lyrics. I just think it's a relationship that ends, period. Which is just my personal interpretation of it, probably having to do with my own scenario. But you're just walking out. That indicates that it never really worked, and just trying to express the feelings, wishing that it could have worked, but it didn't.
I think I took a slightly different interpretation. And again, maybe that's like my own experiences over the years, right?
Yeah.
I think I take it as like a relationship that has maybe gone south or it wasn't working, but like you still had a lot of love for that person, but maybe you tried to cut off contact, but you couldn't stay apart. You leave, but you just feel like you need to come back. You find your way back to them, and maybe you realize you were at fault, but then you're like begging them not to leave because you're like, well, like you said, like I would be lost without you.
Right. No, I can definitely see that interpretation as well. That like trying to take a break from someone or trying to take that time apart, but just realizing that isn't the solution to the issue encountered. Yeah, I definitely see that. That was a good point.
My like headcanon of the follow-up to this song is that, the narrator realizes the ways in which they were maybe being hurtful or not being a good partner. And so then they work on themselves and improve the relationship. But that's like completely my like fictional interpretation, you know, just what I would hope, what I would like to see as the sequel to this song.
Right. I wonder if they were to make a music video, how this music video would go as well. And I really wonder if a dog would be included.
Well, so let's talk about, the song is called Stray Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So, are they talking about actual stray dogs, or is that a metaphor?
I think it's a metaphor.
Yeah, I think it's a metaphor too. Although I know Benji has posted about rescue dogs. I know Joel has a dog too. I don't know if Joel's is also a rescue, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I guess let's talk about now, what does it mean to feel like a stray dog, and why is it good to rescue an animal if you're going to add a companion to your family?
Ooh, I love this question because I have so many of them.
Yes.
So the first part of that was, what does it feel like to...
What does it mean to feel like a stray dog? Yeah.
Yeah, it means to... I would interpret it as not having a place to belong and kind of just wandering without a destination in sight. And not having necessarily like an attachment to a person or a place or even a thing. Just not having something that's your own, I guess, would be the definition of a stray dog. Unfortunately, in LA, there are stray dogs everywhere. It's very, very sad. Something I was not used to seeing being from the East Coast. But the reason that you should adopt a dog, adopt, don't shop, is because the reward is so, it's hard to explain if you don't have an animal or if you've never adopted from a pound or from a shelter or from a rescue. But the dog knows that you saved their life, or even the cat, if we want to talk about the cat lovers here as well. But that animal knows that you saved them, and that is a reward that you don't find elsewhere. It is also just a feeling of goodness that you feel in yourself, knowing that you have impacted a life. And it's just a special bond. It is the most special bond that you can imagine. One of my dogs, I found him when he was a puppy. He was about 5-6 weeks old on the street.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, I look at him and I'm like, you are such an angel. How did you get here? And where would you be if I didn't come to get you? So, you know, especially having all of these shelters that are operating over capacity, just knowing that you really are making a difference and you have a lifelong best friend.
It's the best. I mean, I don't have any pets of my own. My parents have a dog, Dobby, who, like, if I ever, you know, listeners, maybe you've picked up on this, but if I'm ever talking on the internet about my dog, that's technically my parents' dog, Dobby. But he's a very good boy. He's a rescue. He's a mutt. And, like, they got him because they had a Sheltie rescue prior.
I love
like,
Shelties.
Yeah, he was a great dog, but he was, you know, they wanted a smaller dog after. And it was like not long after they had to put the Sheltie down. And they get Dobby, and I just remember being so like nervous because I was away at college. And I just remember being so nervous because I was like, what kind of dog is this? Like, yeah, I'm all for mutts. Mutts sound great, but like, I don't know what this dog is going to be like. I don't know his backstory. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if I like small dogs at this point in my life. I'm like, I like big dogs, you know? And then I met him, and immediately he's just like, he's so loyal. I mean, Dobby's not a guard dog, but he's so affectionate. He's so sweet. And it really is the best feeling just knowing that, like, you know, he has a lot of health conditions, but like just knowing that he has such a good home with my parents.
Right. It's a peace of mind, you know. And the other thing with rescue dogs is typically their temperaments are pretty well given the situations they've been in, especially if they've been in a shelter or whatnot. Again, this doesn't hold true for everyone, but the majority of dogs are pretty easy to get accustomed. And, you know, one reason that a lot of people say that they don't adopt is they don't have the space.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to think about it this way, is that these animals are used to being in very small living situations. So anything that you can give is an upgrade. And don't let that be an excuse. And the majority of them can go hours without going to the bathroom. So don't let your work schedule be an excuse either, since the majority of us are working from home right now anyways.
That was like the hardest thing for me, like the week we went into lockdown, because my old apartment didn't allow pets.
You sneak them in.
Right. Honestly, like I probably could have, and I'm sure, if maybe I could have gotten even like an ESA letter. But that was a big motivator for moving, and I haven't been able to make it work to rescue a dog yet, but I'm just like, I'm so excited to. And my place, it's plenty of space for me. If I had like several pets, it'd be crowded. But like, oh my God, if I had the means to take in, a bunch of dogs, absolutely, without question. I especially now having known that I like small dogs, I'm like, I want small dogs.
Yeah.
And a lot of small dogs are okay. Small dogs, because they're smaller, tend to be more okay with, apartment living. But even so, there's a couple small dogs, and there's like at least one, I think, golden doodle in my building.
I had 2 pit bulls and a greyhound. So, I have 2 pit bulls and a greyhound. The pit bulls are about 60 pounds each, and the greyhound's 80. And we were in an 800 square foot apartment. So I feel you on the crowded thing. That was not the best experience of my life, but
but it's what it is, and they're your buddies.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a good position to do something. So
I think it'll be soon. I'm always like looking at my go-to if I'm like feeling down and I just kind of want to mindlessly go on the internet. It's 2 things. Number 1 is I go on Pet Finder and I look at adoptable dogs in my area.
I start crying.
Yeah. And and sometimes you're like, you see the picture and they're like, oh, he has a million health conditions, but he's so sweet. And the only health condition I think I would say no to is like if a dog was in like a wheelchair, if they couldn't do stairs, because I have a lot of stairs at my apartment. But I'm like, I will take all of these sick and ailing dogs.
Yeah. Speaking of dogs, do you remember Benji and Joel's supposed dog, Cash Dog?
Oh yeah.
What happened to him?
He must have died, because this, Cash Dog was, the namesake of Wondering in 2002. So
okay.
maybe
never talked about it.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's like they talked about Cash Dog, I feel like, a little bit at that time, and then I don't know, who knows how long Cash Dog was alive.
Well, rest in peace, Cash Dog.
Yeah, but I'm just assuming Cash Dog is no longer with us, being that was many years ago.
But many. So if you have some younger listeners, they have to do some research right now.
Right.
Know who Cash Dog was.
I do want to add one other thing I like to do on the internet if I'm feeling down.
Yeah.
You go look up videos of dogs getting adopted and like meeting their forever family, going home, and you see the before and afters. Incredible.
Something I'd also cry at for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Happy tears.
Exactly. If you want happy tears, go watch dog adoption videos.
I just might.
Yeah. So back to the track. So they really did not talk about this in interviews, like not almost at all that I saw. But Benji did the track by track. So here's some of what Benji said in his track behind the track for this song. He says he wrote it for his wife, and he says, I think anyone who has a relationship where they feel like they finally found their way home, they finally feel completed, they finally feel like they found where they belong. You think, before that, I was just a stray dog. I was looking for somewhere to live, somewhere to belong, somewhere to love, somewhere to invest my energy and my love and my time. When you find that place, if you're lucky enough to, you never want to be without it. You never want to leave. I think this song captures that sentiment of being so relieved and so happy to have found your own place. And stray dogs, they have something real special about them, because when you give them a place to be loved and to belong to, they're very loyal, appreciative, and so I also thought that was interesting. I also have a bunch of rescues. 4 rescues. Honestly, amazing goals. 4 rescues. We have 4 dogs that we've rescued, and they're all the most giving dogs. They're so sweet and so appreciative. So I thought that was an interesting spin on a relationship song.
I can't believe he has 4 dogs. Whenever...
I mean, go. If I had the means to, I would totally get 4 dogs. Like...
Whenever they write songs like this, though, my immediate first reaction is like, whoa, what's going on in your relationship? Is everything okay? Like,
Right.
what's going on?
Right.
So I think they typically like don't, or maybe they have and I just don't know about it, but like I haven't found that they'll directly say who the songs are about, but
Generally,
I've always suspected, it's about Joel's wife or now in recent years Benji's wife.
Well, Benji said that this one,
he said it, yeah,
wrote
in that
this
video.
for his wife, yeah.
Right. It's so cute too. I'm a Pisces, so no shade to Benji and Joel because they are also Pisces.
Yeah,
but
they are.
It just has like emotional written all over it, and like hopeless romantic.
Very soft.
And Benji is also, throughout time, he's always been in some type of relationship or jumping from one thing to another. So just hearing though that he
was
has
the last
down.
of the band to get married, I think, except for but to the other
still
3
want to go.
married for them. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a theme to this album in some songs, like The Outfield. It's a theme on that song.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably my favorite song.
Yeah.
Just this feeling of like you finally found your person, and kind of like this underlying feeling to me, and again, this is like me reading between the old lines and me applying my own life experience, but like when you just feel like you haven't found that person and you always kind of felt like you don't belong and you've always felt like maybe you've been unlucky in that kind of department, it is a little special when you finally find that person, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like that's exactly what Benji has, and so happy for him and his settled life now with the wife and the baby. And
baby's got to be like a year. Baby's, I think, a year
old. About a year.
Yeah,
crazy.
Good for them.
How
Daddy
Benji. The one line in this song, though, that I think is really interesting is, I'm giving you the same old speech again, like they do on CNN. And they reference like news channels or news articles in their songs a lot, and like
they do.
Media.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and it's just I like it for rhyming purposes. I just thought it was an interesting lyric too, and I remember when I first listened to it, I was like, "Is he saying CNN? Is that what he's saying? CNN?" And very interesting.
I get the picture in this song that it's like they've just got the news on, and maybe they're like kind of fighting while the news is like playing on TV, and you can't sit through a normal dinner without having the fight. That's kind of how I interpreted that line.
Yeah, I interpreted it a little different. So how when you turn on the news, you're always getting the same message in one way or another.
Okay, so you interpret it as like strictly
I'm saying
a metaphor.
I'm saying the same thing all the time, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So what makes this time different, kind of, is how I interpret it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that actually might be more accurate to how it was written. So I also wanted to mention, I feel like this song has like a little bit of like a country kind of folky vibe, not dissimilar to Cars Full of People, also on this album. So like, when are we getting a GC country album? Or like a country artist covering GC, or GC covering country songs? And I did some research, and I was like, well, let me see if they've talked in interviews about country music, if they like named that as an influence. And I didn't really find much in interviews, but Benji and Joel Madden did write with Florida Georgia Line. Actually, let me look up. Hold on. I'm gonna edit this out. When did this come out? Okay, so this was December 2014, Rolling Stone article, where Florida Georgia Line's Tyler Hubbard told Rolling Stone Country of Benji and Joel, "We're such big fans of those guys. We're going to be writing with them and recording at the Treehouse Studio in Nashville. They'll be in town the next week or two, and we're really excited.
Ooh.
And Joel says, we got along with these guys the minute we met. Then ended up having an awesome hang one night in New York City. We're really excited to go to Nashville, hang, and write songs. We think it's really cool our paths crossed and that we get to experience Nashville and music with these guys. We're big fans.
Interesting.
Very cool. Yeah. I would love that. That is like kind of my one question about this song and Cars Full of People is like, was there a country music influence on this album? Maybe they pulled some influence from writing the Florida Georgia Line.
Maybe they did. Cars Full of People is another song, admittedly, that isn't my favorite, but I think that I would actually kind of categorize it more as folky.
More folky, I think, for sure. Yeah.
And I am a huge fan of the band The Lumineers. So if they want to but take inspiration from that type of music, then I am all for it. And I really, really hope that they come out with another album at some point over the next few years.
I would love that. I don't know. So we actually haven't really gotten to have much talk about this yet, but they put out the song last December. Pretty much out of nowhere. I mean, they had all been like teasing, and I was like texting with a bunch of people like, what's going on? But like pretty much out of nowhere, they put out a song. Do you think Last December is going to be on an album? Or like, was that just like a one single, do you think?
That is a good question. Part of me says it might be on an album because they went out of their way to even produce a little music video for it.
Yeah.
So there could be some there. The other side of me wants to say that even if it is, it probably won't be for another 2 to 3 years. I don't see something coming out anytime soon.
Just because there's no touring now?
Yeah, because there's no touring, there's no incentive for it. I know that that's how, Good Charlotte is really close to their fans, and that. But the thing that's interesting too, though, is before all this COVID stuff happened, they were supposed to be on tour in Europe again, I believe it was, and they were doing a quick American tour, which indicated that maybe something would be coming out soon. I'm really not sure. I hope that they do, but do I think that? Something tells me maybe not. I feel it would have. I think there would have been more explanation behind the release.
Right, like that's so. Like my thing is like, and this is even what I said on when I did the episode on last December was like, Good Charlotte's never really done, like one-off singles. Like that hasn't historically really been a thing they've often done, but these are very weird times.
Yes.
It would make sense why they would put that song out in December, because it's last December. And they've also talked about touring. I feel like I've seen them just on Twitter talking about how, it doesn't really make sense to do much without touring. But I will say, and before we go back to Stray Dogs, I will say they did, the press release about that song, it was something like, it said something like, this is the first of the new chapter.
Oh,
I believe. So
that's hopeful. That's hopeful.
Yeah. So we'll see. But it's like there hasn't been much since, but we'll see.
We'll see.
So you shared the story about, just listening to this song on repeat with your boyfriend at the time. Did you have any other memories or stories you wanted to share about Stray Dogs?
About Stray Dogs, I've cried to it, embarrassingly enough. I cried to it a lot of times.
It's a good cry song.
It's a good cry song. It's a good, sing out loud at the top of your lungs song as well. No other stories from me. I just think it's a simple song, right? It's very simple. Yes. But
it is metaphor too.
Exactly. It's catchy. And I actually, once you read into it, it's clever. And if you look past, there's always that element of friends that I have that make fun of me for listening to Good Charlotte of, immediate sap that goes into it. But I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's well written. And I think a lot of us go through this, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. So no other immediate stories come to mind aside from the tears.
Yeah.
I shed with this song, but I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't listen to it sooner and that it took me about 4 years to actually come around to liking it.
Yeah.
What about you?
No specific stories, I would say. But I think similar to you, it definitely took me a while to come around to this song, which is funny because like I always would say like Youth Authority is like probably my second favorite Good Charlotte album after Feeling the Hopeless. But there was like a couple songs on this album that like at first I was like, yeah, I don't really like that song that much. But it was kind of like the album as a whole and what it meant. And I'm not sure I really got this song at first.
Right.
But then I got it and I was like, oh.
Makes sense.
And it definitely made its way onto a playlist of mine at one point.
Yep.
Not a playlist for someone, like a playlist of mine, like my Cry playlist. So it did get on my Cry playlist. In terms of other songs in their catalog it relates to, I mean, we talked about The Outfield, just that similar feeling of like finally kind of finding your person romantically. I mean, there's, a million songs out there about relationship stress and should we get back together? Do we break up? But I have to mention, if we were talking about dogs in the literal sense, Wondering, of course, that was about their dog. That was about Cash Dog. That was a fun episode too, doing Wondering. So I want to go through some of the critical response to this song. And it got like a pretty good critics dug this. So Michigan Daily said, from 40-ounce dream to Stray Dogs, Good Charlotte has a 5-song streak of pure pop punk genius. Each song is stylistically distinct, an element of the genre that's very difficult for bands to achieve. The reviewer says it's one of their favorites on the album, and that Stray Dogs pack the punch needed to make this album a success. Very nice.
Interesting. Love it.
Consequence of Sound was not a huge fan, and we've talked about this exact like clip from this review before in talking about Makeshift Love. The tracks on Youth Authority cover marital discord, Makeshift Love, Stray Dogs, and more that honestly doesn't sound too dire. But I want to pose the question: is it dire? And like, is the situation in this song pretty dire? Is it extreme? And does the quote-unquote marital discord have to be dire in order to write a compelling song?
I don't think that the marital discord has to be dire, but from my initial reactions and interpretation of this song, this is a dire situation for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're breaking up.
Oh yeah, this isn't like
a fight. This is like a
this is we're done. I have the divorce lawyer across the street. Yeah, this is dire.
I mean, I get the interpretation that this song ends happily. I mean, I don't know if Benji wrote about his wife. Benji and his wife are happily married, so worked out for them. But yeah, it's dire, but I feel like it's kind of delicately written with the metaphor, because they're not saying "I fucking hate you," or like "you did this to me, you hurt my feelings." Like,
right?
They're not so direct here.
Right. No, I can see where you're saying that.
Yeah. The Musical Hype was a very big fan of this song. They said, Stray Dogs is cleverly written, to say the least. Don't leave me stray, I'm just a dog without you. Madden sings memorably on the refrain. The concept is simple. She makes him better. Otherwise, he's an animal.
That's funny.
Yeah. May the Rock Be With You said that Stray Dogs is a great middle-of-the-road rocker with Good Charlotte's signature sound all over it. All right.
The signature sound, it definitely has that signature sound.
Yes. I wanted to talk about some YouTube comments. So, YouTube comments on the band's upload of this song are turned off.
Ooh, yeah, they've been turning off comments.
There were some comments on Benji's behind the track, so I'll read a couple of those. Tiff E said, "This is so my other half and I. I went through so much shit to find the man I'm with now. Abused twice, lied to God knows how many times. I have times where I cry because of how shitty my past BFs were compared to him. I have, with no doubt, found my future husband, and like you said, I feel like I'm where I belong."
Aww.
And special note, this person follows the podcast Twitter, and they got married recently, and they are now married to the person they wrote this comment about. So, like,
Aww,
good for
congrats.
you. Happy ending. Tireless Ninja said, "The ticker going across the screen made me think of death." Morgan Elizabeth said, "I just bought the Youth Authority CD at Hot Topic the other day, and Stray Dogs is my favorite song on the album. This is my first time hearing Good Charlotte, so I'm excited to hear more." Wow.
Wow, welcome.
Love that. One more comment we'll read, not from YouTube, from Amazon. There's an Amazon review from Matt182. He said, "Stray Dogs has really grown on me. I thought it was a bit silly initially, but it's a catchy song with a cool sound."
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. So, Isabella, as we wrap up, I just would love to know, how has Stray Dogs held up for you over time?
How has it, say it again?
How has it held up for you?
How's it held up? It has held up well. Like I told you, I played it way too many times in about like a 3-week span. So
Yeah.
I actually haven't listened to it in some time, and I know exactly what I'm going to do the moment that we get off. I'm going to listen to it. But it's up there on, definitely, I would say it is, it's not top 3, but it's top 5 favorite songs from Youth Authority for sure. And really helped me get through some hard times, and just very catchy, and vocals that I was able to hit. So I am very, very much in love with this song.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad it was there for you over, such a important time, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So I'd love to ask everyone, what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
Good Charlotte has always meant to me the message of following your dreams, or following out whatever you set your mind to. You can do it. Because if you think about it, so many people told Good Charlotte or Benji and Joel when they were first starting out that they weren't going to get far, that they would never amount to anything. And Benji and Joel just kept saying, like, okay, we hear you, but we're still going to try, because it's better to have tried and failed than to not have tried at all. Yeah. So the resiliency is very powerful from this band that I get from them. Followed them so often for concerts, having had gone on tour with them, kind of seeing a different side that not a lot of people have been able to see from them. The vibes that they put off as well, I guess this is kind of how they've changed for me, is when I was younger, I idolized them, right? Celebrities. Yes. Oh my gosh. But once I was actually in a room with them, they are the coolest people ever. So very down to earth, and very, they've helped me realize that not everything is what it seems, and just do your best to be the best person that you can be. Pick a craft, master it, and move forward in that way. And the positivity that they always try to put on people is something that I carry on in my own life, and just their willingness to have fun. For those of us that have been to Good Charlotte shows, they're so much fun. Benji and Joel specifically, they're just really goofy. They're silly. They're there to brighten us up. And
they really are.
Yeah, and just kind of like understanding that if we look at the last 20, 25 years of Good Charlotte, where they were is not where they are. And so many times along the way, they thought that they were like, okay, this is it. This is my life. And like Benji said about this song, like, a few years ago, him having a wife and a kid wasn't in the realm of possibility. And now it is. So just to keep going until you find exactly what you want, and you're never too old, and follow your heart.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is a pleasure.
That's so great. So do you have any last words about Stray Dogs, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
I just want everyone to also listen to my very favorite song from Good Charlotte, which is Life Can't Get Much Better, especially towards the end. Oh, favorite song. So if you haven't done that, go give that one a listen. And next show, hope people come out for it. So we are looking forward to always adding on to the GC fam. So
GC fam is always growing.
Always growing, always having fun. The best concerts I've been to are Good Charlotte concerts. And fun fact, there's a lot of moshing at Good Charlotte concerts. I know. At a Good Charlotte concert, yes.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, last real question for you. So we have the Generation GC and Friends Spotify playlist. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put Stray Dogs. So can you give our listeners a recommendation of just something you're digging lately? Anything you're digging that's not Good Charlotte.
Anything I'm digging that's not Good Charlotte. And music-wise?
Music-wise, yeah.
Ooh, okay. Anything I'm digging that's... Okay, I really, really love Kygo. And Kygo came out with a... Yes, I love Kygo. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. With his most recent album called Golden Hour. I think it's Golden Hour. And that is definitely...
Is that the one with like all the collabs?
Yes. Yep. And definitely worth a listen. And if you are like me and you were going through a hard time recently with a significant other, listen to Happy Now. You will cry, you will feel better afterwards. So I have an entire this playlist, but that is something that I definitely recommend. I love Kygo a lot.
Beautiful. Well, Isabella, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people keep up with you on the internet?
I have taken a little bit of a break from my Instagram, but for you to send me a request, I will be on at some point in the future. My Instagram is the Bella Step, and that is the best place to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Last week, on our last regular episode, we talked about Alive from Cardiology. A few days ago, we had a bonus episode on the Madden Brothers' Empty Spirits from their Greetings from California album. And next week, we'll be talking about a song from Generation RX. My name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host. And you can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, POD, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Please make sure to subscribe to the show, follow, rate, review, and tell all your friends, because like we were saying, the GC fam is open to all. Thanks for tuning in.